Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Leader Talk. I'm SEAC Retired John Wayne Troxell, your host. Today I've got another phenomenal guest, and he is returning. He is just a phenomenal leader, a phenomenal Marine, and a close personal friend of mine. And the last time we had him on, 20,000 of you watched it. So he must be kind of popular to have on a show. But anyways, welcome back. Master Gunnery Sgt Retired Scott Stalker, two-time Combatant Command Senior Enlisted Leader. Now in retired life, you own your own business, Stalker Solutions, which we'll talk more about later on. But
Yeah.
Scott, welcome back. Appreciate you being here, brother.
John, thank you for having me. Again, apologize for the setting. I was supposed to be in a certain place, but when we do with planes, trains, and automobiles, you take it where you can. And so I'm in the vehicle right now, but we're still rocking and rolling. Thanks for having me.
Well, judging by the Under Armour t-shirt and the surroundings back there, I don't know if you're going to a pro-Palestinian protest or whether you're going to a beach setting or something, to hang out and have a few cold ones.
I travel comfortably. No, I've actually got a red tie luncheon to be at tomorrow. And then my best man's 50th birthday. So I've got the nice clothes behind me, but right now I'm all comfortable, brother.
Well, I see them hanging up back there. You got the creases going, brother. So I know you're going to
I
be
do.
rocking it, man. Well, hey, like I said, welcome again. And the last time we had you on, you were getting ready to transition out as the U.S.
Yeah.
Space Command Senior Enlisted Leader, and after a career in the Marine Corps of well over 30 years. So talk to us about how transition has gone in the about a year and a half since you left the position and you made your trek into the retired circle. So how's things going?
Yeah, if you look at it, it's been 15 months roughly since I've retired. I had terminal before that. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's been a little over a year and a half. And it's been phenomenal, but it's not been phenomenal because of me. It's been phenomenal because I've got a lot of mentors and veterans that have succeeded, like you and many others who have shown me the path, who have talked about their failings and challenges. And I've tried to turn those into opportunities. And I really tried to see this as a journey, not a destination. So I'm still not there yet. As an example, I did a lot of consulting early on. I still do a lot of consulting, but I realize there's a shelf life to that. I'm trying to extend that shelf life. But the reason I created my own company is because at a certain point, I'm no longer the former C-cell of Spacecom. I'm a couple generations removed or a couple of assignments removed, and they're going to want newer folks, and that makes sense. And so I wanted to start my company so that I can bring in talent and do things. And we'll talk specifically about that. Just finished writing my book. We'll hopefully be able to get that out here soon. It's on leadership. And so I'm just diving in to everything I can. I'm on several different boards. I was literally in New York City yesterday at Goldman Sachs doing some things. And I think really what it is I realize that I'm no longer limited by rank. You can do as much as you want, and I'm taking it all on. I'm doing as much as I can, and along the way doing what General Stewart, my brother and mentor who's no longer with us, asked me to do, which is to help others behind me. And on the way up here today, I've actually had some calls with different veterans and given them advice on how to transition. So by no means is it going perfectly well, but it's going pretty damn well. And again, it's a journey, and I've got 3-5 years to continue on to see how much more success I can have. But thanks for asking.
Yeah, you mentioned the shelf life of the retiree, which people were mentioning to me, my mentors, and generally it's a 5-year shelf life they talk about. But, brother, I've been retired 5 years now, and I'm as busy now in terms of consulting like you, running my own business, getting after leader development, getting after motivational speaking and things. So I think you might think you have a shelf life coming up, but I know Scott Stalker and I know the kind of inspirational leadership you provide. So I don't think you're on that 5-year tour that the normal senior enlisted leader is, brother. And I think a year from now, you'll notice that you're not at the apex of that 5 years that's going like this. You're steadily going to be going like this. But will that be
Yeah.
an issue with you? Are you prepared to continue to do this kind of things? I say paying it forward, giving back, and continuing to develop your company and yourself. Is there a no stop or a stop point that you're like, I'm not going to do anything anymore?
No, there never will be. And I don't think it's so much as my shelf life ends, it's more of it evolves. And so some of the things I'm doing now might be more low hanging fruit later. I'll be frank with you. My goal is to build an enterprise, to build a massive company to hire at least 500 veterans and spouses, if not more, and to compete for some of the larger multi-million-dollar contracts. That's a lofty goal, and it's something that makes me nervous. But I love the grind of doing it. I enjoy the work. I enjoy the connections and the networks and putting it all together and reaching out to other companies or other government entities and talking about opportunities that my company can provide for them and seeing where we can collaborate and partner together. So it's awesome, but there will never be a day where I'm sitting on the couch, Netflix and chill all day. I don't have that gene. And I ultimately want to do this because I want to turn over a multi-million-dollar company to my wife and my daughters and let them run it, or decide not to, and then we sell it if so be it. So we'll see where we go, but I have those incredible goals. And even if I only make it halfway there, that's pretty damn good. So I know what that shelf life is. I know that I continue to network. I know I maintain my clearance and I can stay connected as a senior fellow at the National Defense University. And so when I think of that shelf life, I don't think of it as one day no one's going to call me anymore. It's more of the things that I've started off doing will no longer be what I'm doing today. It'll continue to grow.
So guys like you and I, even when we were in uniform in our strategic level senior enlisted positions, but even now, it's tough to get work-life balance. So yeah. I, for one, don't even focus on work-life balance. I focus on work-life rhythm. You know, when I'm working, I'm giving 110%, but when I'm not working, it's all about how can I spend time with Sandra, the kids, the grandkids, how can we get vacations in? How are you doing? You've got Mallory and you've got your 3 beautiful daughters. How are you doing at getting after that work-life rhythm? And what are some techniques that you can share that allow you to get that rhythm with family?
I don't know if that statement or idea should even be a thought at a certain level of leadership of balance, because that implies 50-50. It's impossible to succeed and have 50 of your time not related to growing and building. But I think when you look at it a different perspective, as an example, I enjoy golfing. I can take my daughters with me to play 9 holes. They ride in the cart with me. We're together for several hours. That allows me to do some things that I enjoy while doing it with people I enjoy time with. Mallory and I have looked at our summer calendar. We know when we're taking vacations. The organizations that have asked me to consult, I've let them know these are the dates that I will not be available. There's no compromise on that. There's no dollar sign they can say, hey, how about this? Can you go do this instead? It's not going to happen. So you just have to have open communication, much like I'm sure you do with Sandra. It's, hey, are we still on board with this goal? This goal, building something out, generational wealth. If we are, that's going to require me to do a certain amount. And then with Mallory, you know, I know exactly when we've got our date nights. We got an upcoming one with a friendly couple of ours we enjoy time with. And you just got to be present in those moments. I'm not perfect at it. I'm not. I find myself a few times for having the phone at the dinner table. I'm not perfect, but I work hard to be present, to be in the moment, and do the best I can. But as long as Mallory and I have our goals are aligned, that we are trying to achieve X, we'll get there. If we decide one day, hey, we want to just sit on the couch all day, I can get you no work and all balance, but that's really not enjoyable either. And so it's really, to me, what are your desires and goals in life? Are you both on board that train to get there? And if you are, this is the work it's going to take. We're going to take some nice vacations too, and we can do that because we've earned the revenue and generated the revenue to fly the first class, to go out to these nice places if we choose to. And I think that really is what it comes down to is, are you on the same train as it relates to your mission and goals? And if you're not, you got to fix the communications piece first. Otherwise, nothing else is going to work.
I hear you, brother. So we're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our sponsors. But when we come back, we're going to dive into leadership here right quick. So we'll take a quick break and let's hear from our sponsors at Downrange Supplements.
Downrange Supplements. As the brand of the troops, we produce only the highest quality supplements conducive to mission effectiveness. Whether it's our fully dosed pre-workout, recovery and rehydration, or Mermite protein, it's time to continually improve your fighting position with Downrange Supplements. Go to www.downrangesups.com today and take your training to the next level.
Hey folks, welcome back to Leader Talk. SEAC Retired John Wayne Troxell. Got my special guest, my great friend, colleague, Master Gunnery Sgt Scott Stalker, one of the finest Marines to ever wear the uniform. Scott, this segment we're going to dive into leadership, man. and you're a guy that, you spent years at the strategic level, but you have served as a leader at the tactical, operational, and strategic level. And now here you are taking on the corporate world. So I just want to ask you, what are some key leadership attributes that you try to focus on, that you tried to focus on in uniform and you try to focus on now as a leader in the corporate world?
Yeah, and thanks. I love this topic of leadership, John. I think everything you're talking about with leadership is getting left of a crisis. And so you have to build all of those things left of the actual event. We call it left of boom or left of launch. I look at two of them, character and vision. And so for me, I don't really have to work at this, and it's not like I'm some moral saint or whatever, but treating people with dignity and respect. And that starts with yourself, making sure that you're doing the basics and fundamentals, taking care of yourself, right? We hear about put your mask on first, all of those things, but character. And when you do that, I was actually talking to a very senior CSM this morning, and our conversation was about how others seem to, when they reach certain ranks, talk down to others. I don't want to do that, whether I'm talking to a private or a general or a CEO or the person checking me at the hotel. Character, being a professional, that's first and foremost. I think then when you move into a leadership role or a business owner or something like that, you have to have a vision. What are you doing this for? Where are you going? What are the goals? How do I measure my effectiveness? How do I measure results so that I can put more time in certain areas or less time in certain areas? And so without that vision, I don't know how you can be a true leader. And so this is what elections are for. They are supposed to tell us what their visions are. We say, hey, I want that vision, not this vision. And then the American people decide on which leader we elect. It's the same thing at every echelon. But without that, I think you're missing some. And you may say, well, I'm just a squad leader or I'm just a company commander. Well, your leadership is going to give you the vision that they want to execute. And you got to figure out now how to apply that, how to train to that, how to get to that standard. It's no different, right? It's not like we have the Sergeant Major of the Army putting everyone on a scale every day, but we know what the standard is. And then we have to have leaders that have a vision and the character to execute it. And so that's a unique way of looking at it. But no doubt for me, if you are missing character, those flaws will be seen and detected. It may come over time, but eventually they fray. And we see the gaps in leadership there. We see that, quite frankly, you were probably faking the funk. And then without a vision, I mean, what are we doing? We're just a bunch of ducks running around in a circle instead of following Mama Duck down the road. So, yeah, that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, that's kind of like going out of the wire to do a presence patrol with no vision, no purpose. You're just basically going around waiting to get blown up and then going back and eating chow, So.
Yeah, you're hunting for a ribbon or an award when, God forbid, someone could get killed because you were too stupid and arrogant for that. And so that again gets to a lack of character and certainly no vision. If we're going outside the wire, we better be doing something. It could be a key leader engagement. It could be a capture or kill. It could be gather intelligence, whatever. But I need to know what we're doing, and everyone on the team needs to know what we're out there for.
Yeah, you used a term the other day when we were talking that I really chuckled because I knew exactly what you were talking about. You talked about bro leaders. And maybe it's they lack confidence in themselves and everything, but they want to be one of the bros. Can you talk through that, what you mean by that?
Yeah, and no doubt I was talking specific about an individual. I won't get into that. You know what we were discussing. But what I got at is you got to be comfortable with who you are. I'm no war hero. I have gone to combat. I don't have any valor awards, but I am not insecure in who I am. I know what I did. I know the lane and the role I had, and I did the job as best I can. Far too often, whether it's at the VFW and the guy at the bar that wants to talk about back in my day or any of these others that they feel this need to, hey, I got to get the tattoos because all the boys got the tattoos, or there's a certain way I've got to dress or slick my hair, whatever the thing is, the bro mindset. I don't know if these leaders realize it, but when they're not in the room, people are laughing at them. I mean, they're a joke. They lack credibility. If you want to be a real leader, just be exceptional at what you do and love your people. Go out of your way to take care of them. Let me give you an example. I was at an event a few weeks ago with your predecessor, CZ, former SEAC, and he had worked hard to get an individual an award that he had rated years ago, but it got caught up in the bureaucracy. That shows me a leader who cares. CZ went out of his way to make sure that the Army knew that this individual deserved recognition. Then the Army grabbed the process and he got his Bronze Star with valor. That's leadership. That's not being a bro. That's behind the scenes. Hell, I don't even know if CZ even talked about that, but it was because of him and certainly others that got it done. It's be comfortable with who you are, be excellent at what you do, and dominate your battle space and love your people. And when you do that, no one's asking you, right? No one's saying, hey, Scott, we need you to be the first person in the stack. I was never that guy, but I'm really good at these things. And I know others that were that guy. And when you have that, it's a team. When you have that team, we know who the left tackle is. We know who the quarterback is. We know who the running back is. Dominate that. And now you have a championship team by someone who just wants to be one of the boys. And that doesn't mean gender. It could be a male or a female in this case.
Yeah, and I love how you said the guy with his hat on backwards and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went into some details and maybe we would know who this person is, but that's not the point, right? It's the characteristics and the flaws of that type of leadership. And it's always exposed. Eventually it's exposed.
What I see is someone, a bro leader is someone that has never done a certain thing or gained a certain qualification. And if they spend enough time with those that have made the sacrifice, that have got the qualifications, and are serving in those positions, that they could feel like one of those guys. And
Yeah.
I think that's a wrong way of going about business. And I think, to your point, you got to be authentic and genuine and in your approach and your demeanor, and just be happy in thine own self, who you are, and go out and, like you said, treat everybody with dignity and respect. And I love what you said about character and vision as well. So, yeah, I think we both have served around some bro leaders that are all about that kind of stuff. So let's talk about leadership in a changing environment. So I hate the phrase when a leader comes in and says, I'm a change agent. I always ask, change what, MFer? Okay. What problem are you trying to solve? Or do you think that because you've been put into this position, that you've been put into this position because the person that had it before you was screwing it up? And I like to talk about being an evolving leader, meaning I'm going to look at across what I'm in charge of, and I'm going to keep the good, and I'm going to look to change the bad. I'm going to evolve this organization so people don't think that I'm coming in and trying to be that change agent. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, last time I was on with you, you asked me towards the end what was something I was really concerned with, and I talked about the economy. And now I think with the current administration, he's looking at the trade imbalance, and he's looking at how can I reset this, a resetting. Vice coming in without vision to change. Now you can argue if it's the right approach, and that's a political conversation, a policy discussion. The same thing relates to desired outcomes in the department, right? So it could be the things going on with the Houthis. It could be a variety of things. And if you consistently approach things the same way, you have to know the result you're going to get. What I would offer is what we need in the department's leadership is really, let's look at our desired outcome. What impact, what effect are we trying to have? Can we use economic means? Could we use things in the electromagnetic spectrum? Do we have to send an aircraft carrier with thousands of sailors or a MEU or a division, whatever, and get to a desired effect? That's where we're often missing a visionary leadership. Instead of saying, I'm going to come in and change everything, what outcome are you trying to achieve? And then there might be, and there likely is going to be, some things you have to change. But this idea, I don't know what change agent means. What is that? I'm not an agent. I'm a visionary leader who knows what my desired outcome is. And if we're off course achieving that desired outcome, then we have to make changes. For example, John, if no one's calling you to come speak at events, you probably need to look at your website. You probably need to look at how you're putting your message out there. Does everyone think you've retired? Then you change to fix the desired outcome you want. It's no different, whether we're trying to achieve a kinetic effect, whether we're trying to achieve different results. And that's where I see, this idea of change agent isn't necessarily a wise thing. Think about what you're trying to achieve, and then let's put a plan together to get there. And it may mean we got to double down, but it may mean we have to change. That's what I would say on that.
Let's talk about leaders are expected to come in and make sound and timely decisions. And sometimes those sound and timely decisions can be very unpopular. And sometimes you see people that will, because they're upset about a decision made, that they will go overboard to potentially make that decision maker, that leader look bad. That's malicious compliance. And then there's others that you and I both have had to deal with that will look to undermine you, and I call that passive rebellion. As a leader, what's your advice to leaders out there as they are looking to get after structured, disciplined, timely decisions that are for the good of all of their organization, and to your point, gets after everyone getting treated with dignity and respect? What's your advice to people in terms of being on the lookout for things like malicious compliance and passive rebellion?
Yeah, and oftentimes that gets down to the integrity of the organization, whether it's a small team or a larger team, and then the leader, have they conveyed their context? You didn't trademark it. I'm going to say you trademarked, but you used a term years ago about professional jealousy, and for some reason that creeps in. Now, that might creep in due to some of the human laws that exist, such as everyone at the end of the day, and this is in Dale Carnegie's book, wants to feel important, right? But oftentimes, just like there is, whether this is the SEAC, the Secretary of Defense, or the president, there's only one of those people. That's the person that's going to be the face of the organization. I mentioned this. I'm on the board, with the Wounded Warrior Project. I should never be the face of that organization. It is the people we take care of, the service members, the veterans. They are the face. We take care of them. If I happen to be at a thing, so be it. And so I can't get jealous if, hey, why am I not on the Wounded Warrior Project website or this and that? No, I understand what we're here to do and achieve. And a leader has to be aware of that. They have to be aware of, do I have folks that are wired that way? Am I relaying, am I telling everyone in my team what we're trying to achieve, why we're trying to achieve it, so they all buy in? And at the end of the day, if you have someone that's just not going to buy in, and you've worked with them, it may be time to cut the cord. You got to move on and put that person somewhere else. As it relates to elected officials, hey, at the end of the day, the president, they set the policy. And the one thing I'll offer that, when Secretary Mattis stepped down, the one reason I wish he had not stepped down, and I wasn't in the room, and so I'm missing a lot of the information. But if it's what I think it is, I would have preferred, okay, I disagree, but we still need you, Secretary Mattis, at the table to be a different voice, a different perspective. The worst thing you can have is in this bro network where everyone is a blind loyalist, is just going to always tell you and agree with you, tell you how great you are. And I think real leaders who are not insecure don't want those individuals, right? Just like you could call me anytime and say, Scott, hey, what you said was a little bit outside the lines or whatever, right? And we can joke with each other too, but we can be serious. If you're missing that in your life, if you don't have those type of people in your life that can say both the good and the things you may not want to hear, that's a failing on your character as a leader, quite frankly.
I hear you, brother. So we're going to take another quick break and hear from our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to ask you about some of the things that are happening in the Pentagon right now, one in particular. And then we're going to learn more about what you're doing with Stalker Solutions, your company, and then we'll allow you to give the Warrior shout out. But first, let's hear from one of our sponsors at PME Hard Consulting. Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Leader Talk. I want to take a quick moment to talk about leadership. At PME Hard Consulting and Lead, we offer top-tier leadership development and coaching. With over 60 years of combined military and leadership experience to lean on, along with certifications in the Power of Positive Leadership, Power of Positive Teams, and the Energy Bus programs by best-selling author John Gordon, we offer training that will help you cultivate positive, impactful leadership within your organization. To learn more or to schedule your leadership workshop, head to www.pmehard.com and start building a better, more effective leadership team today. Hey folks, welcome back to Leader Talk. SEAC Retired John Wayne Troxell here. My guest is Master Gunnery Sgt Retired Scott Stalker, fine Marine, very educated guy. You won't see him eating a lot of crayons, but it's still within the possibility because he is a career Marine. Scott, welcome back. Hey, I want to hit one thing real quick because it's on both of our minds because it concerns a guy that you and I both highly respect. He's a close friend of ours. He's just a phenomenal warrior leader, and that's Troy Black, the current SEAC. It was put out this week that Chairman Kane is going to go in a different direction, and he's going to select his own SEAC. Troy is not being fired. There's nothing punitive going on here. We know when we get into these 4-star level jobs, we serve at the direction of our boss. And the boss will always get the vote. So if the boss comes in and says, hey, I want to go another direction, it's business. It's not personal, 99% of the time. And when I was the SEAC, the charter was written that it was a 2-year tour, and I had to be extended by the current chairman for another 2 years. So when my 2 years was winding down, I went to General Dunford and I said, hey, sir, my 2 years is about up. I need to know if you want to keep me for 2 more years or whether we need to run a slate to get somebody else to come in. And he said, without thought or question, you're staying. And I really appreciated that, But Chairman Kane, a lot of people don't understand this is his decision and he's going a different direction. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, hey, I realize our system. We all do. The commander-in-chief had the authority to select a new chairman. He did so. I love General Brown to death. I wish he'd stayed on. It's unfortunate, but the president has that authority. And now we have General Kane as the chairman. Roger that. Senate has confirmed him. That's our system and our process. And I salute that. And I don't always have to enjoy it, but that's the system. And so when we go by. And so when Troy, as the SEAC, when we get a new chairman, I would imagine, I don't know this, but I imagine they had that conversation and the chairman decided, hey, I want the guy that I select. And he has that right. Now, let me be frank with you, and you know this, of course. I think the world of Troy Black, former Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, a combat warrior decorated for valor, a career infantry Marine, an exceptional leader, and I competed with him for SEAC. The chairman made his selection. He selected the right guy, and Troy is the SEAC and earned that right. And so I was actually speaking to a combatant command C-cell a day before that article came out, and they let me know, hey, this is just breaking. And so I knew about it about a day prior, and Troy and I have texted since. I love him to death. I think the world of Stacy, who's also a veteran and retired Marine, and Troy's going to be okay. As I understand it, as I've talked to others in the process, they're going to slate, and the chairman will select his person. They'll have a ceremony, just like your ceremony with CZ and CZ's ceremony with Troy. And so, I don't like it. I wish Troy was sticking around, but I don't know what went on behind the closed door of that conversation. I imagine Troy mentioned to him that, hey, you do, of course, have that right. Not that he needed to, but you're not going to find a better person of character, a visionary leader, an exceptional quality communicator, character. Like you can go up and down the list of leadership qualities. And so, I'm sad, but I'm also excited for Troy because once he sees what's on the other side of this, he's going to be just fine. And guys like you and I are going to be there to help him out, just like many others of our peers too. So yeah, this idea that he was fired, I don't agree with that. I think, the chairman has the right to pick their next person. And that's what this is going to be. If he's going to be fired, we wouldn't have a ceremony. We wouldn't go through a lot of these other processes to do this. And so, but yeah, it is what it is. And I think we've been about 2 days officially, publicly at least, knowing about this.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of Troy being asked to leave because I thought he was doing a phenomenal job. I'm just like you, I might be a little biased because I think he's a great warrior, a great leader. He's a great friend of mine. But, the concern I have is when you look at when it's all said and done, from the DepSecDef chairman, vice chairman, because Admiral Grady is on his way out, and then the new SEAC, you're going to have the top 5 leaders at that level that will all have under 6 months in the position. And when Secretary Esper and General Milley came in, and General Hyten became the vice chairman, I was still there, a guy that had been the SEAC for over 3 years. So I was able to assist in their immersion at what goes on at that level and everything. So the concern I have is there's going to be a lot of inexperienced people there, but I'm confident they're going to end up figuring it out and they'll be okay. And like you said, Troy's going to be okay, and he's going to realize when he gets on this side with guys like you and I that he's going to be all right. He's going to have fun, and he's going to be able to set new goals. So
right. And the one thing on that too, I would say is if this was a battalion level or a division or something, you understand the intricacies of your service. right? You have the experience, and certainly a guy at a battalion can skip a regiment or a brigade and move up. It's not unheard of, right? We saw Joe Bass go from a NAF up to the SimSAF, and it was in the service. And so, yes, it's hard, but you bring a lot of service experience. You can do that. Navigating the Pentagon is a different beast, and you got to know the intricacies, the ins and outs, not just the E-ring, but all of the key players that are there, and it's a challenge. And so when you talk about inexperience, what we're talking about is lack of that kind of intricate wisdom, because they're all experienced leaders. I mean, whoever the next SEAC is going to be a 30-plus year individual. Obviously, the chairman, has been around. Certainly, he retired. They brought him back. Roger that. It's not the first time it's happened before. You can bring someone out of retirement to lead. And we got a Senate confirmed SecDef. So all of that, is within the norms. But what we're missing is the intricacies and the wisdom of that five-sided palace. And that's the challenge there. And then going across to Congress, where relationships are critical, right? And so whoever the next person is, they're going to need some assistance and some help there as they are helping out a brand new chairman as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, brother, let's talk about Stalker Solutions, man. What is your vision with your company, Stalker Solutions, and the purpose, and what direction are you going with this company, and what do you hope to do?
Yeah, so thanks for asking, John. It took a while for me to get my my Small Business Association certificate to be a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business, which as of the last NDA was a requirement. So if I wanted to do GovCon contracting and hire people, I needed that certification. What I'm trying to do is operate in the national security sector of space, cyberspace, AI, and those areas, intelligence, and look at the government, and it doesn't just have to be DoD, where they have gaps, offering solutions. But I'm trying to do it differently. I don't want to do it the same way every other, and I'm not going to name the companies, have done it. I really am looking at that fine-tuned, high-quality, really the top-end tier guys and gals that have done this before, and then having a conversation with those acquisition and those project managers in the government to say, hey, you're looking for 2 or 3 of these people. I can do that with 1 or 2, and they're more high-end quality individuals, potentially saving the government a buck, but also really empowering and employing some talent. So I'm trying to get to a spot. I might be with really, really soon hiring my first full-time employee. And then again, my goal is to get to 500. I'll reassess when I get there. But any of the gaps that our government has, and they're looking for folks in the contracting space that do those things, that's what I'm looking at. I'm also going to probably have a separate sector of my company that deals with leadership things as well. But they're not always one in the same, right? You may not need a TSSCI with a polygraph to do a leadership seminar, whereas oftentimes if you're doing things in space, cyberspace, or intel, you do. And so that part of my company, I need the facility clearance. I'm partnering with the right companies to do that, and I own that classification clearance myself. That's really what I'm trying to tackle. And if you've been on some of the sites, I don't want to get too detailed here, but sam.gov and these others that show where these opportunities are, the government's asking for, I look at what my company can bring, and it's exciting because I know we're going to win a lot, and we're going to be bringing in some talent relatively soon. So that's really, in a nutshell, my company.
And how long did it take you to get your certificate? Just for those that might be interested.
Yeah, it should not have taken this long. And interestingly enough, and this isn't a political thing, but as soon as the new administration came in, it took about 2 weeks. It was stuck in the bureaucratic mess because it took 6 days to get my VA rating. It couldn't have gone better. The VA did an exceptional job with my rating, and my VSO did a great job. And then I had the certificate. I had my business license. I had my registration for, North Carolina LLC. I had all of that stuff. I turned it in, and it sat in bureaucratic purgatory. And I don't know if it was because we were then waiting for a new administration or what, but it took about 9 months. And then literally 2 weeks into the new administration, I get an email, hey, you're now certified as an SDVOSB. And so that was a good thing to get. It shouldn't, it really, there almost doesn't even need to be a human in the loop, because they can pull up your DD 214 if they connect it right into the VA. They can pull up the fact that you're a service member. They can pull up and automatically see you have a business license. And this should take less than minutes, quite frankly.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, brother, we're coming down to the end. How can people get a hold of you that are looking to build a connection with you?
Well, I'm certainly easy to find on LinkedIn, and that's where most people will find me. You can also go to my website, stalkersolutions.com. If you click on the government link and you're government and you want to deal some business, I've got my one-page capability statement with these funky things called the cage code and all those things that they need to do business with me. You can find my email on there. You can find my phone number on there. All of the things needed to do business. And so whether it's LinkedIn or on my website, stalkersolutions.com, I'm really not too hard to find.
Awesome. All right, Scott, we close out every episode, as you know, with a warrior shout out. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to give a warrior shout out to someone to close out our show. So over to you, brother.
Yeah. Hey, so this is a personal one to my best man, who tomorrow is going to turn 50 years old, retired Senior Chief Brian Singer, who did over 15 years in a Tier 1 SEAL unit. I had to be careful. I don't know what I can say anymore, so I'll just say that. I was there when he graduated BUDS. He went through twice because the first time he went through, he broke his back. And this guy gritted it out, toughed it out, still went back through BUDS, graduated, became a Navy SEAL. I spoke at his retirement. He came out to not only my retirement, but he came out when I took over Space Command. And so my warrior shout out, this guy has got more confirmed kills. I mean, this guy is an absolute badass. Senior Chief Brian Singer, happy 50th birthday to your brother. We're going to have a great time tomorrow night. We'll make sure the phones are hidden.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thanks again for being here, brother. Appreciate what you do. Appreciate what you got going on, and still seeing you give back and all the things you do to our military and how you support veterans and their families. Love you, brother. Thanks for being on here. And to everybody out there, thank you for tuning in. If you like what you see, give us a follow on YouTube. If you want to know more of what's going on with pmehard.com, go to my website there, just like Scott talked about his website. And we'll see you again soon with another episode and maybe another exciting guest like one Scott Stalker. So, Scott, thanks again, and thanks to everybody for tuning in.